Vatican envoy has called for Pope Francis' resignation. He has accused the pontiff of failing to act sooner on sexual abuse allegations against former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. In a scathing 11-page statement, Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano said sanctions imposed on McCarrick by Pope Benedict XVI over sexual misconduct were lifted under Francis. This happens despite reports about his gravely immoral behavior with seminarians and priests. Giano said he informed Francis in person in 2013 of the sanctions and how McCarrick had corrupted generations of seminarians and priests, but his advice fell on deaf ears. The letter written by Archbishop Vigano, who has been a bitter critic of Pope Francis, came out as Pope Francis was visiting Ireland. In meanwhile, Pope Francis has dismissed Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano's explosive allegation.
Io ho letto questa mattina quel comunicato, ho letto e io dirò sinceramente che devo dirvi questo, a lei e a tutti coloro di voi che sono interessati. Leggete voi attentamente il comunicato e fate voi il vostro giudizio. Io non dirò una parola su questo. Credo che il comunicato parla da se stesso.
Last month, the man at the center of the controversy, Theodore McCarrick, a prominent Vatican diplomat and the former Archbishop of Washington, D.C., resigned from the College of Cardinals over sexual abuse allegations. 88-year-old McCarrick has been one of the Vatican's most prominent officials. As Archbishop of Washington, McCarrick helped from church policies aimed at protecting young people from sexual abuse. His resignation follows an investigation by law enforcement officials and an independent forensic agency that found evidence that McCarrick had sexually abused teenagers 47 years ago while serving as a priest in New York. There are also claims of misconduct and harassment against McCarrick involving adults. Earlier this month, a detailed investigation revealed the story of a man who said he was abused in his early 20s by McCarrick. At the time, McCarrick was serving as a New Jersey bishop in 1980s. The Irish victim of clerical sex abuse were joined by activists and supporters to protest against the first papal visit to Ireland in almost 40 years. Protesters asked members of the public to stand in solidarity with them over what they call an attempt to silence and marginalize those harmed by the Roman Catholic Church. The demonstration in Dublin Garden of Remembrance took place at the same time as Pope Francis celebrated Mass at the nearby Phoenix Park. And I'm joined by WION's correspondent, Jack Parrock, live from Brussels. Thank you, Jack, for joining us from Brussels. How big is this issue for the papacy today?
Well, it is a really big issue indeed, and mainly because this goes directly to the Pope. What Archbishop Vigano is accusing the Pope of is ignoring sexual abuse. And the Pope himself, during his speech, said that these types of abuses, during his speech in Ireland, that they must be taken on and they must be looked at. Clearly, when the accusation is directly towards him, that draws him into the controversy. Now, it is important to note that in this 11-page letter that Archbishop Vigano wrote, there isn't any written evidence, there's no proof that he told the Pope Francis himself in 2013, as he says he did. So that's why the current Pope is saying that he simply will not respond to this letter. He says he has not a single word to say about it.
But you know, Jack, it's not the first time that such charges have been hurled against the clergy. You know, if I do not get into the denominations, whether Protestant or Catholic, and for example, in the popular imagination, Spotlight captured this whole controversy well. It's a Hollywood film. So in this case, how do you see the response of the Church in context of the outrage exhibited by the civil society?
This is exactly it. You're completely right. I mean, I think back in the 1980s, there was always rumblings and an understanding of the sort of anecdotal accusations of Catholic priests abusing young children, and especially boys, obviously. And then as we entered the 90s, sort of investigations started to go on, films started to talk about it more openly in the press. In the 2000s, and now in sort of more recent years, there have been direct allegations. Films coming out, as you say, Spotlight, which really highlighted and obviously did very well at the Oscars as well. And now what you're seeing is this kind of consistent criticism of the Catholic Church for firstly not investigating enough, and secondly maybe not doing it publicly enough. And now it's going directly to the papacy. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I think that what a lot of civil society wants is a full clear out, a full investigation to make sure that none of this type of abuse carries on, because Theodore McCarrick, this American cardinal that's accused of this, the accusations run right up into the sort of early 2010s. So it's interesting to see, and I mean, whether the Pope does decide to go much further into this, we'll have to wait and see. The Irish Taoiseach, the Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar himself, called on the Pope himself to be more personally responsible in tackling abuse within the Catholic Church.
WION Sports editor Digvijay Singh Deo spoke to Chief National Badminton Coach Pullela Gopichandan Jakarta to put in context Saina Nehwal's defeat and Sindhu's historic run to the final. Listen in.
A bittersweet day for Indian badminton here at the Asiad. National coach Gopichandan is here with me. Gopi, two Indians in the semi-finals. You were hoping for perhaps a historic All-India final, but first Saina Nehwal gave it her best, pushed Tai Tzu Ying quite a lot, but then right at the end, Tai Tzu Ying just showed why she is the best player at the moment.
Well, Saina fought really well. I think I would say probably got a little predictable in the end. I think she was attacking, and I think where she could have backed off a little bit and used other ways, but I think the moment and the scoreline was such that she kind of was, and by instinct she is an attacking player. She's very, very difficult to control that part, and she played into Tai Tzu Ying's hands because she counter-attacked very well. She was alert at the net, and she pushed the pace in the last few points, which made the difference. Nonetheless, I think the way Saina has played, the way she pulled out her match against Ratchanok yesterday, and the way she has actually played this entire tournament has been something which is very good.
You know, in fact, the journey of Indian badminton right to the top, especially after you stopped playing, began with Saina, began here at this very venue in 2009, if I remember correctly. For her to finally have that set of medals, it's taken a long time. I was just on messaging with her, and she played the 2006 Asian Games as well. This is the fourth Asian Games. It's a long time in badminton for her to finally complete this set of big medals, in a sense, is massive for her after all that she's done for the sport.
Well, I think there are players, many of them who have an elusive medal, but I think I'm happy that Asian Games, Commonwealth and Olympics, all three, along with things like World Championships, All England, she's done very well. So I think a phenomenal player, and it's only right that she had this medal. She could have had it last time, she could have had it in 2010, but well, unless you have it, you don't have it, kind of a thing. So I think it's great that she's come here. She's fought odds, she's forced dip in form, injuries, mental strength, but she's showed why she has played this far, this long.
Talking about the other one, and it's becoming a recurring theme at these big games, you know, Gopi in the corner, Sindhu in the finals. How impressed were you with that one? Sindhu going past Yamaguchi, she's now 3 in a row, especially in the last 1 month.
Well, I think tricky player, but I think Sindhu's confidence, my confidence against Yamaguchi is there, because she's cracked before under pressure, and Sindhu has the big smash, which helps her against shorter players. So I think in the end, when it mattered, she got going, and there were those big smashes which came in handy at the end. But overall, she's played very well, and sometimes in matches like these, when you are in a winning position in the second and you lose that, to regroup and fight your way back is something tough, but she's done that very admirably, and very happy with the way things have been.
I heard your quotes after the World Championship final, and when you were saying that don't look at only one match, look at the entire tournament. But you as a coach love winning. You have loved winning as a player as well. How do you approach this final now? It's another big match for her. It's the Olympics, the World Championship, Commonwealth and all this one. So how do you work on that in the next limited time that we have now?
Well, I think to put it in perspective, I think it's another match and you're playing somebody who's tough. So you need to do your basics right, and if you do it well and if you get a chance, you should win. And I don't think there's anything much beyond that. I think if you put tags of final, if you put tags of Asian Games, if you put tags of first Indian, I think you're just adding baggage when it's not necessary. At the end of the day, it's as simple as it is. It's a sport, and whoever is going to play hard and play well tomorrow is going to win, and that's all it is. It's nothing. It's if it's anything, it's a bit personal. I think Sindhu's lost to her before, she's beaten her before, and tomorrow she'll have to go on there and equal that record.
That's why we have you in the corner to calm things down. Thank you, Gopi. All the best for the final.
Thank you so much.
The fuel prices in India have touched a new high today, and surprisingly, diesel is now few paisa away from the 70 rupee mark. Today, diesel prices in National Capital Region are at 69.46 rupee a litre, which Delhi has never seen before, while the petrol is at 77.91 rupees per litre, but lower than its previous high of 78.43 rupees per litre. According to state-owned fuel retailers, diesel price was hiked by 14 paise and petrol by 13 paise per litre in a single day. But not to forget, Delhi is the cheapest in terms of fuel prices among the metro cities, while the financial capital of India, Mumbai, is still paying the most amid high state taxes. Mumbai locals need to pay 85.33 rupee for a litre of petrol, which is lower than its previous high of 86.24 rupee of May, but diesel is at its highest mark of 73.74 rupees a litre. Fuel prices have shown no sign of relaxation since August 16, after rupee dipped to its lowest value against the greenback. In last 12 days, petrol prices have been risen by 0.77 paisa per litre and diesel by 0.74 paisa per litre. Centre currently levies a total of 19.48 rupee per litre of excise duty on petrol and 15.33 rupee per litre on diesel. State-owned oil firms had in mid-June last year dumped the 15-year practice of revising rates on 1st and 16th of every month in favor of daily price revisions. In a breakthrough move, India successfully conducted its first test flight partially powered by biofuel. Budget passenger carrier SpiceJet has conducted the test flight from the northern Indian city of Dehradun to capital Delhi. A concoction of biofuel powered one of the turbine engine of the flight. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation, or the DGCA, allowed the flight test to be conducted with 25% of biofuel and 75% of aviation turbine. To test the flight, 20 officials of the jet fuel project travelled on the flight from Dehradun to Delhi. The flight was received by key cabinet ministers and airline top management at Delhi's IGI Airport Terminal 2. The development assumes significance as high air turbine fuel prices have hit India's domestic airline sector, with all the major players reporting losses for the first quarter of the 2018-19. Currently, fuel prices constitute 45 to 50% of the overall operations cost of domestic airlines. India's ATF prices are amongst the highest in the world. Due to the addition of the state levies and taxes, the fuel is not under the GST ambit. Besides, the success of the flight will pave the way for further testing and aid in fulfilling the central government's move to curtail India's dependence on crude oil imports. It will also help reduce the cost of air travel by 20%. A United Nations report has said that the Myanmar army must be investigated for genocide in Rakhine State. The report strongly condemns the role of army in the exodus of Rohingyas. It says that the army's tacit ways consistently and grossly were disproportionate to the actual security threats. The report further names 6 senior military figures that the United Nations believes should be on trial. They have also fiercely criticized Myanmar's de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi for failing to stop the violence against the ethnic community.
We are deeply disappointed that State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi has not used her position or her moral authority to stem, prevent or condemn the unfolding events in Rakhine State. In bringing out this report, we hope the international community will act not only to bring justice for victims, but also to help deter future atrocities.